Hi, Anton.
I was mute. So I kept talking and talking, but I forgot that I was mute. Can you hear me now, Rosie?
Yes, I can.
You can. That's brilliant. I'm sorry. Me and my fat thumbs, I just pressed whatever I thought I pressed and kept talking for England. Nevertheless, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Startup Talent Q&A. It's our 137th session. We've been doing these for over 3 years now, almost 4 years, where we're trying to help founders with whatever challenges or ideas, for that matter, that you may need in terms of in terms of finding, hiring, keeping, and empowering the right people for your business. The idea is quite simple. If you're a startup in this event, in this room, in this conversation, and you've got questions on anything to do with your people, whether you want to know how and where to find the right people, how do you decide when you should start looking for people? Perhaps you need to find a co-founder, or you need to learn what's the best way to work out a to work out a remuneration package for somebody, or maybe how to interview someone. Anything within this sphere, this is the place to be. All you have to do is raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage, you introduce yourself, and then fire away with your questions. There are no right or wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all, and I would appreciate it if you don't leave it for too late to come up for questions, if you do have any, because then we're only doing this for an hour. So, on the other hand, though, if your questions today are not on talent, but they're on other matters, please save them for the other rooms we do. So we run 4 regular events per week. On Mondays, it's talent. On Tuesdays, it's product and tech. On Wednesdays, it's growth. And on Thursdays, it's fundraising. And they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And you can RSVP to any of them via our website, startuptoscaleup.club, where we've got them all lined up between now and the end of the month. Well, 19th of December, for that matter. Now, before we get on to questions here, for those of you that are tuning in via Facebook or YouTube, please be aware that unfortunately we're not able to monitor your questions live there. Therefore, you would need to either go onto our website, startuptoscaleup.club, and then find today's room, which is Startup Talent Q&A 137. And once you click there, then it takes you directly to our site. Or you can go onto LinkedIn and search for Startup to Scale Up Club, where it's, where basically today's room, it's our last post there, and you may be able to join us live there and then. Now, we're going to do some quick introductions and then open it for questions from the audience. So my name's Anton Cole. I'm an Albanian in London. I'm your host for today, but I also help founders with talent, growth, and lately I've been helping some angels and family offices with their due diligence and also their assessment. And I've got 2 amazing ladies with us today. So we'll start with Rosie and then we'll go on to Alex. Rosie.
Thanks, Anton. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the new listeners. My name is Rosie 𝗬𝗏. I am founder of Rosie's People, HR and business operations consultant, and I have been working in various startups, fintech space for over a decade and doing people-related, I suppose, and business-related services for over 20 years, fractional CPO, and obviously a strategic executive consultant. And we help clients from stealth startups all the way through to enterprise, huge companies with various HR and people-related matters. Happy to be here to share some knowledge.
Thank you very much, Rosie. Alex?
Hey, hi. Hi. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much also, Anton, for having me. I'm a little bit sick today. I hope everyone is understanding me very well. So I'm Alexandra. I'm the founder of Maya Talent Acquisition. I'm quite have a similar background as Rosie, which is very interesting, as always, to talk with people which have a similar background. So I'm within recruitment since over 14 years now. Also worked for very small companies and grew them up to 5,000 people. And now I'm just founded my own company, also helping other companies in mostly in growing their teams, but also helping other companies in their recruitment strategy, also towards the processes, etc. So I would say like I do the all-round package for recruitment right now. That's me in a nutshell.
That's brilliant, and don't worry, I'm under the weather too, so I'm sure we'll be fine. But hopefully, you'll get well soon. Benjamin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Apologies for being slightly late. I got stuck in another call. Hi everyone. My name is Benjamin Black. I am an HR professional with about 17 to 20 years experience at various different types of organizations, including some large-scale corporates and smaller startups and tech companies. I look after a massive range of issues, mainly in-house rather than on the recruitment side. But very happy to be here and happy to answer any questions that I can.
That is brilliant. Thank you very much to all three of you. Now, a quick reset of the room. This is Startup Talent Q&A. We've been doing this for over 3 years now, almost 4 years, where we're helping startups like yourselves with whatever questions you may have on finding, hiring, keeping, and empowering the right people for your business. Your questions today for the next 52 minutes can be on anything to do with that people sphere of startups, whether it's how and where to find the right people, how much to pay them, how do you find a co-founder, how do you interview and assess and test people, how do you decide how much somebody should get, or perhaps how do you build your culture, and all that jazz. All you have to do is raise your hand, we'll bring you up on stage, you introduce yourself, and then fire away with your questions. Whilst we're waiting for some questions, by the way, Rosie, Alex, and Benjamin, if you don't mind thinking of some top do's and don'ts for early stage hiring, that would be great. And for those of you that are tuning in via YouTube or Facebook, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there live. Therefore, you would need to join us here on LinkedIn Live Audio. There's two ways you can do that, either via going to our website, startuptoscaleup.club, and look out for today's event, which is Startup Talent Q&A 137. And once you click join, it takes you directly here. Or you can go onto LinkedIn and search for Startup to Scale Up Club. And the last post there, it's today's events. If, however, your questions today are not on talent, please save them for the other events we do. We run 4 events per week currently. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, and Thursday's fundraising. And you can RSVP to any of those via our website, startuptoscaleup.club. Now, without further ado, whilst we're waiting for some questions to come up, maybe we can start with do's and don'ts. Let's start in the same order that you joined. So Rosie, Alex, and then Benjamin, please.
Thank you. So I think for me, my do's, probably if you've been on the show before, you've probably heard some of them. And some of my do's are basically have a clear idea of what you're actually looking for. You're going to be looking for people that have skills that maybe you don't have. Be aware of what you're missing from your team. Have a clear shopping list of what are the skills that you feel you need to complete your A team, if you like, for the startup. Be very clear about what you can offer people in terms of compensation, whether it's equity, whether it's cash. What are you offering? What are the extra things you might be willing to put on the table to make you more attractive to candidates, such as flexible working, remote option, if that is feasible in your business. And of course, don't make promises that you can't keep, that you don't see being able to keep. Don't overpromise candidates things. Honesty is really your best friend at this stage. because candidates don't want to feel like they're being taken for a ride, and they don't want to be treated like idiots or lied to, same way you wouldn't like it. So I think honesty, having a clear idea of what you're looking for, being aware of the type of team you're trying to build, what type of culture you're trying to build, and then just trying to get the people that you think will meet those needs for you and complement you where you're lacking to help build a stronger team. I'll leave some for my colleagues.
Thank you very much, Alex. Sorry, Rosie. Alex, your we can't hear you now, Alex, for some reason. This bloody LinkedIn, man. Alex, would you like to leave the room and then return, please? Benjamin, would you like to try?
I'll have a go. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, buddy.
Yeah, sorry for checking in. I just would rather know. The do's and don'ts. Rosie sort of says most of the useful things I think as ever. But what can I add to her excellent list? I always have one which I say, which is, well, especially when you're starting something up, really, really be very careful about who you involve. And I mean that in two ways. Firstly, who is offering to invest and who is offering money or help of any kind. Are you going to get a return on that? Are you going to be setting yourself up for a relationship that's going to end in disaster? There's a big difference between enthusiastic people who get the idea and people who are actually really willing to help make it real and who are willing to put the time and effort in. And also, when you come to hire people, be wary of friends and family. Be thoughtful about it. Think about, you obviously are in a situation where you have to get your business off the ground, get it growing. Think about how you hire people. Are the skills that you need now the skills you're going to need in 2, 3, 4 years time? So think about what you're bringing people to do and whether they're really the best people for the job, either in the long term or the short term. And if they are friends or family or people that you know but you don't know well, an interview process can only tell you too much. Think about how you can bring those people in while also keeping yourself flexible and fluid as your business evolves.
Thank you, Benjamin. Alexandra, are you okay to talk now?
Do you hear me?
Yes, we are. Yes, we can. Brilliant.
Perfect. Great. Yeah. So I think Rosie and Benjamin already said quite a lot of things. Again, I just can underline what Rosie just mentioned. Be very, very clear what you want and do your promises. I also would say that sometimes you also don't be too scared to not find the right people right away. So sometimes you also have maybe candidates which don't bring in the profile you are actually looking for, but maybe they are still a fit. So try out also or talk to people, although you think, oh, they might be not a fit or something, because I definitely saw quite a lot in the past that startups especially didn't talk to people because they didn't have the profile which they wanted. They didn't go to this particular university, or they don't bring in these experiences. But sometimes it's worth to also talk to people which are not from this particular university or don't bring in these experiences, and they might be also a fit. So this is what I would like to add here.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That is brilliant. What we're going to do now is see if you've got any questions live. If not, we've got some questions that were sent to us. Sorry. So I'll start. I'm going to copy and paste this. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. I'm going to copy and paste this onto our group, the group chat here for the panelist team. So if that's all right. Where are we? So we'll start with the first one. I'm a co-founder of a pre-seed health tech startup in Birmingham, where we create wearable devices for remote patient monitoring. As we grow, I want to set up HR metrics to measure employee engagement, performance, and retention. What are the most critical HR metrics to track at this stage to ensure we're nurturing a productive and satisfied team? I've looked at her LinkedIn, and based on the LinkedIn info there, it says 11 people work in there. So I have no idea if it's more or less, but at least based on their LinkedIn page, it says 11 people. Let's start with Benjamin this time, then Rosie, then Alexandra. Any thoughts?
It's a big question there, with lots of different facets to it. With that many people, I think that you have the ability, and I'm going to assume that if there's 11 on LinkedIn, let's say there's a few more, but I'm going to assume you're under 20 people. So I hope that's an educated assumption. You've got the ability to create something quite personal, and you've got a bit of a decision to make based on where your business is going. You can either invest in things that will be applicable as you grow, so you start as you mean to go on, or you can say, look, we're a small business, I've got 20 people, I can get my hands around all of them, and that's the way it's going to stay until we reach a certain size, be it 30, 40, 50, kind of your decision based on what's manageable. I would kind of go with on the view that with 20 people, you can get to know them all relatively well, get to understand what their interests are, what is it they want to do with this business, and almost co-create development, co-create their objectives with them, obviously based on what you need them to do from a commercial objective. But you might have some hidden talents as well. And in that kind of environment, in my experience, it kind of everybody has to get on with whatever's thrown at them. It's not a question of rigidly sticking to a job description. So I would say it's about really having some quality time to get to know the people working with you. If you have obviously a little bit of a structure with some people being line managed by people other than you, it's about spending time with those people who are line managing the people and helping bring in a culture that's what you want for your business. And by that I mean, explaining what you want to get out of people, explain what the principles of how you want to treat people are. Is it, and it might be, something that I wouldn't advocate for, which is very, very much, you do your job, this is it, and you work for your money and that's it. Or it might be a bit more of an inclusive, softer culture. At the end of the day, as the business owner, that's your decision. But I would say you've got an opportunity with that many people to really get to know them, really understand what they're about, and maybe even take their ideas. Because actually, if you can bring them on board and say, look, what can we do as a team to make sure we all perform well, keep each other accountable, you've got buy-in. It's not just a top-down thing. And the luxury of a small business is you have potentially the opportunity to do that. I think for that size of a business, having systems and processes is it's important, but I think it's secondary. And there are so many systems out there that can do basic performance management, cloud-based software. I'm not gonna name some because I don't have one I specifically recommend. But I think your systems, your processes, all of that are almost secondary. It is worth having something, so you're not doing everything on the back of an envelope. But what really matters is how you use the systems, not which systems you have. So I'll shut up now and let somebody else talk.
Thank you, Benjamin. Rose?
I mean, I think Ben's probably covered most of it. Yeah, I think I mean, I think it's a great thing to be thinking about putting some HR metrics in place for a small startup organization. Is always good to put some foundations in when you're building a house, rather than trying to do it afterwards. I'm hesitant to say you should put XYZ type matrix in, because I feel that with most organizations, you really have to sort of know them, know how they work, know what tools they use, so that you can best advise like what would be most suitable for them. Because there are lots of options out there, and Ben's mentioned quite a few of them. And of course, if you don't know the company that well, all you can do is make suggestions in a very broad capacity, but you would need to know a little bit more about the organization and how they're structured, what type of tools do they use, what is important to them, what do they consider I suppose, a positive metric to measure by. Because obviously for some companies, it may be just showing up for relevant meetings. For others, it may be actually that ability to do more than 3 things at the same time and be able to cover for everybody else when they're out, and then having to find a way to sort of capture that in a qualitative way. this is one of those moments where I think it would really help if you could come on the show so we can ask you more questions and give you a more tailored response that would be most useful for your organization, because all we can do is give you a broad response which may not be able to solve your problem had we known the details of it. And on that note, I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Rosie. Last but not least, Alexandra.
Yeah, quite similar. I think it's super cool that you definitely would like to implement those HR matrices, and also this is therefore you can definitely understand your organization better, your employees, etc., and also can figure out, okay, what is going well, what is not going well. When it comes to retention and performance, I mean, this is what you easily can see if people are leaving within the first 6 months, for example, or after a year, or after, I don't know how old the company is, obviously, but after 2 years. And also maybe also you have exit conversations with those people. You also understand maybe why are they leaving, or if it's a performance issue, why you needed to let them go, actually. And also I like this one matrix, which is also like when you recruit new people, how long does it take them to be productive in the first 6 months? This is also helpful if your recruitment process is healthy, but also you can figure out if your onboarding is efficient enough. So these are my 2 cents towards this.
Well, thank you very much to all three of you. I really appreciate that. I guess a quick reset of the room for those of you that have just joined. I see a few people on YouTube that have just tuned in. This is Startup Talent Q&A. We do this every Monday from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, where we seek to help startups like yourselves with whatever questions you may have. And for my panelists here, I'll just put another question in that was sent in to us on the group chat, so please have a look at it. It's our 137th session. We've been doing these for over 3 years, and we've actually gotten over 260,000 people tune in. We've changed from Clubhouse to LinkedIn, and now we need all the help we can get to spread the word, so please feel free to do so. As far as today's concerned, we're helping founders with whatever questions you may have on that people journey side of things. So whether you want to know how and when is the right time to start looking for people, how do you find a co-founder perhaps, or those early stage employees, how do you decide which roles should be filled first, what are the duties you should give them, where do you find them, how much do you pay them, or perhaps how do you decide if they're the right people, i.e. how do you test and interview and assess them and all that jazz, or perhaps just building your company culture. This is the place to be. We are going to be here for the next 36 minutes, so I'd appreciate it if you don't leave it for too late to come up with questions if you've got any. On the other hand, if you're tuning in via YouTube or Facebook, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions now. So if you do have any for us today, you'll need to join us here on LinkedIn Live Audio. You can either hop onto LinkedIn and just search for Startup to Scale Up Club, and the last post there, it's today's event, or you can go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club, and today's event there, it's Startup Talent Q&A 137, and you can join us there. Now, if your questions today are not on talent, please save them for the other events we do. Mondays, obviously, as you can see today, it's talent, but then Tuesdays, it's product and tech, Wednesdays, it's growth, and Thursdays, it's fundraising, and they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And also, please don't forget to show your love to our panelists. They're giving their time for free. They're dropping some absolute gems, and none of this would be possible without their input. So please feel free to follow them. And now, until we get some live questions, maybe we can go to another question that was sent in to us. This is a bit of a mouthful, but it goes as follows. We're a social impact startup in Sheffield at the pre-seed stage, developing a peer-to-peer platform for local volunteering and community building. Following our recent growth spurt, we're struggling to maintain a consistent onboarding experience and manage team morale. Given our limited HR capabilities, Now, in a fast-scaling environment, what low-cost yet effective strategies could we implement to ensure new hires integrate smoothly and existing employees remain engaged and aligned with our mission? Also, how can we measure these strategies' success without a dedicated HR data system? There's at least 3 questions here, I guess. So 1, it's onboarding with limited HR. 2 is, again, onboarding, but also integration and employee well-being, I guess, or employee engagement. And 3 is how do you measure all that? Let me see now. Let's start with perhaps Alex this time, then Rosie, then Benjamin. Alex?
Yes, I'm not an HR expert, and I have so many questions towards to this person actually. So I would love to understand what they already did, how the onboarding process looked like, why they're feeling that they are not very engaged, and also what do they measure right now, and what does it mean to have limited capacity on HR people? So these would be my questions, to be very honest. I give a high-level answer, and again, I'm not an expert when it comes to HR topics, to be very honest. So when it comes towards onboarding, and this is one of the most super crucial things which needs to be good in a company, because every employee is then their first day and they need to be excited, and if they're not excited, that also means that they probably are not remaining engaged or not engaged from the very first moment. These are my experiences. And also when it comes to onboarding, maybe kind of a checklist would make sense, not just for the employer, but also for the employee, having kind of a buddy program, someone who can help this person within onboarding, or if they have any other further questions about the company, etc. Maybe it is also helpful to have kind of sent them an email beforehand, having all the documents at hand, etc. This is maybe it can help to make it a little bit more smoother. When it comes to engagement, again, it's difficult to say this from here and not knowing the company very well. But my experience is also that a welcome dinner with new employees, it's always a lot of fun, and also drives kind of engagement. Another thing might be also kind of like how many town hall meetings do they have per week or even per month, how engaged or like how close are they to the employees, do they have kind of a Teams or Slack group. Those things can also help to engage with the people and to keep them motivated, etc. I think there's so much more, and also when it comes to a dedicated HR data system, it's always helpful, but also Excel can help you a lot. But I stop rambling here because I definitely think Rosie has also very good ideas, since she is kind of a more expert towards this topic.
Not bad for somebody who claims not to be an HR expert. Thank you, Alex. Rosie?
Took the words right out of my mouth, Anton. I was going to say exactly that. I think she'd done all right. Yeah, this is also one of those moments. I mean, like Alexandra mentioned earlier on, there are some times when it would be really good to have the people here so you can dig deeper into the questions and really understand.
Sorry to interrupt, Rosie, but unfortunately they sent that bleeding message via Instagram, and I wasn't in the mood of doing an investigation, following their name, going to LinkedIn, finding their company and all that BS, because if they can't be bothered enough to do that through LinkedIn, then so unfortunately I can't really even tell how many people they've got or if they've gone live or anything. Sorry. Go on. Sorry to interrupt, by the way.
It's okay. I mean, with that as well, now you sort of think, well, will they even get to hear this response, But yeah, as Alexandra's mentioned, there are a lot of questions that come to mind. What have you done so far? What's worked? What's not working? What's making you ask this question to begin with? What were the metrics that you received that gave you concern? And why did they cause you concern? And there are social impact startup in Sheffield, pre-seed stage. I think that they, if you need experts HR experience or support, there are lots of people out there that are happy to provide some fractional support, on a voluntary basis for a social project, so to speak. That is in fact what they are. So that is one thing that I could say that, yeah, it's a practical thing that they could do, is that they could actually try and see if they could get a volunteer HR experts to come help them look at everything and give them an informed, I suppose, a few informed options to work on. Onboarding starts before the person is hired, I believe. I believe your onboarding starts with that initial experience, your interaction with the company from day one, when you actually apply for the job, or however you get informed of the job. Maybe you were headhunted. From that point onward, I believe that your onboarding journey has actually started, because at any point in that ecosystem, you could decide this is not for you, and vice versa. So there is actually an effort to be made on both sides, but mostly from the employer side, until you actually sign on the dotted line, to reassure you that you are joining the right team. And what sort of experience you're having during your recruitment will also inform you if you're making the right decision to join that team. So that is something that I could offer as an alternative, or rather an addition to the great stuff that Alexandra has also already mentioned. It's really hard to answer some of these questions without being able to ask questions. There are some HR platforms out there. I always recommend, no matter how small your organization might be, it's really good to have a centralized place for HR and people related data. It would just really help to make your life easier, to be able to find all of those documents in one place, and be, it's a great way to ensure that you are compliant anyways from a regulatory perspective, for one, the data itself that you are receiving from all these people that you may not be aware you actually have a duty under data protection regulations to maintain in a specific way. And two, to also make sure that you can tick boxes where, if there is an audit tomorrow, you don't actually fall short of the things that you're required to provide to evidence that you are meeting regulatory requirements. From that perspective, I don't think there's a lot more that I can add to this without asking more questions. So I think I will stop there and hand over to Benjamin and see if he's got any extras to sprinkle.
Thanks, Rosie. I think you made a really good point about the law and the regulatory piece. And a lot of companies, what I would say, if you're really struggling with that and you haven't got a volunteer, I imagine you will have insurance, you will have some legal firm behind, and often they can give the basic advice. Obviously, you've also got the resources like ACAS, which just make sure you're ticking the right boxes and you're compliant. But in terms of the the stuff that goes beyond compliance, all I was going to add is, a lot of it, I would think of your people, think of the people joining your business, think of the people you want to hire. Think of them in the same way you might think of people who you want to get money from, or customers. What is the experience they have with you? And I always say this, as an employee, especially when you're joining a business, you're really no different to the passenger on the train, or the customer in the restaurant, or the guest in the hotel. And if you can put yourself in the mentality of, what would good look like if I was joining my business? What would I want? You're not going to please everybody, but if you can put yourself in that mindset, you might find that you can do quite a lot of stuff very simply, especially if you're very small. But think about, what would I want? What would mean a lot to me? What would good look like for me? And do not underestimate the importance of communication, because communication is really where so many businesses just don't do a great job in terms of their existing employees, their candidates, the whole gamut of people. What do you think people should know? Because put yourself in their shoes, not the shoes of you as the boss, but the shoes of someone who doesn't know everything, and always try and think from their perspective. So I guess it's kind of empathy, but not quite. It's more around that what is the mentality if you see these people as customers, even if they work for you. I don't think there's much else I can add without the other information, as Rosie and Alex have both said.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, all three of you. Really appreciate that. Righto, now I guess a quick reset of the conversation. This is Startup Talent Q&A. It's our 137th session. We seem to be having a shy audience, especially from what I can see, the numbers on Facebook and YouTube. Nevertheless, please be aware that on Facebook or YouTube, we're unable to monitor your questions. So if you want to ask us anything today, you'll need to join us live here on LinkedIn. And you can do that either by going to LinkedIn and searching for Startup to Scale Up Club. The last post there is today's event. Or you can go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club, and click on the event of today, which is 137. And there you'll be able to join us directly live here on LinkedIn. Nevertheless, we're going to be here for the next 24 minutes to help startups with whatever questions you may have in terms of your people journey, whether you want to know how and where to find the right people, perhaps finding a co-founder, or how do you decide how much you should pay somebody, or maybe you want to know how do you attract people when you can't compete with let's say the big techs, the Googles and the Facebooks of this world, or how do you build a culture that is right for everybody and all that jazz. All you have to do is raise your hand, we'll bring you up on stage, introduce yourself, and then fire away with your question. There are no right or wrong questions. Sorry. And there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. However, if your questions are not on talent today, please save them for the other events we do. We run 4 of those in total. On Mondays, as you can see today, it's talent. Then Tuesdays, product and tech. Wednesdays, it's growth. And Thursdays, it's fundraising. And they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And you can RSVP to them via our site, startuptoscaleup.club. I'll put another question in the chat for the panelists here. So if you want to have a look at that, so we can go for it. Right. So I'm the co-founder of a pre-seed agri-tech startup in Scotland. We're developing a smart farming solutions for small-scale farmers. As our team of 19 works on high-stakes long-term projects, I want to ensure we have effective mental health support systems in place for employees. What are some practical steps we can take to support mental well-being on a tight budget? And, oh, sorry, I forgot to copy that. And also, can you recommend any providers? So perhaps this time we can start with Benjamin, then Rosie, then Alex.
I'm going to be a pain on Tom. I'm sorry. I got a call for a second, so I was desperately trying to reject it. And can you just repeat the question really
Of course,
quickly?
man. And by the way, no, that's totally cool. Are you on your mobile or your desktop, Benjamin?
Mobile.
If you want, if you click on the arrow, do you see the top screen, the arrow?
Oh, you've got it here.
Yeah.
The pre-seed agri-tech. Okay, perfect. Sorry.
And then no, that's okay. And then you can go into our chat that we have.
Oh, I've got it. Right, perfect. That can answer that question very nicely. So all good. So what practical steps can we take to support mental well-being on a tight budget? Well, the obvious one, and I don't know how much these cost, so you'll have to do your research, is you have a basic employee assistance program in place. And what that will do is allow us access to online resourcing, online mental health resources, apps that keep track of people's mental health. It's all anonymous. You just get the aggregate data. And then as you wish, you can have options for telephone and in-person counseling. That will, again, depend on the cost. So that's the obvious, easy solution. You literally are just paying for it. If we're saying that actually you do not have the budget for that,
that's how it looks like.
Yeah, and that's how it does look like to me. And in which case, I think it's actually about making sure the people managing the people, whether it's yourself or whether your team of 19 have 3 or 4 managers, it's about making sure that people are given the support they need. And that doesn't cost anything. That's about making sure your managers understand that to create a culture where it's okay for someone to say, this is high stakes, it's stressful, I need to vent, or I need a couple of days off because I need a break. Putting things in perspective, it is high stake long-term projects, But ultimately, you're not helping people recover from, you're not driving an ambulance. You're not offering heart transplants. And I think you've got to sometimes get a little, I'm going to sound very cynical here, but a little perspective here that if this is a long-term project, but it's high stakes, you've got to create sustainability, because if you have everybody running with scissors indefinitely, they're not going to last. However much you pay them, however much support you give them, even if you do have a gee-whizzy employee assistance program in place, if your way of working is not sustainable, you might have amazing people, but they will burn out. Some of them quicker than others, but they will burn out. So, and I've never seen anywhere where people don't burn out, even if it's the point where they do an amazing job for 10 years, they leave and they have a heart attack the next day. So if you want to look after your people, it's about trying to balance the work and make it sustainable, because you can't run at 200 miles an hour all the time. And that's the most important thing. That doesn't cost anything. It's about being realistic. It's about setting real client expectations. It's about making sure that your people are working when they're at their best. And creating a culture where it's okay for them to say, look, I'm struggling right now. And you can very easily balance that with what you expect from a performance point of view. But again, what is sustainable? What is going to be the most beneficial in the long term? Because if you are pushing them too hard and it's not a sustainable pace, people will fall over and then you're going to be in a real mess. So I think if I'm giving you a practical step, it's, as I've said already on this call, it's about communication. It's about making sure people have the space to talk and making sure that the people leading them have the understanding and the toolkit to be able to have those conversations, knowing that you will support them as the owner of the business, within the bounds of what is an acceptable, level of performance. It doesn't mean that you should put up with a bunch of people not doing their jobs, but you have to be realistic about what you can expect.
Thank you very much for that, Benjamin. Rose?
Yeah, fantastic responses there, Ben. I think again, it's this is one of those moments where I almost feel like going, well, how much do you have? Is the first question. What's the budget? Because I'm sure there's something that can be done with whatever budgets you have. If the budget is zero, then you still need to think of creative ways of making something out of nothing, but even the nothing will still cost you something. So for instance, if you're talking about mental health, one thing that has been excuse me, one thing that has been proven to be useful for mental health is actually allowing people to have a good work-life balance. And so given that the work that they do, I'm presuming would be, to a degree, if we're talking about farming, etc., might be to a degree quite physical, potentially. It may be good to sort of allow some flexibility in hours, but then of course that flexibility does come with a price point. Something that I always think every business should have in place is access to the EAP, which gives them some it's an employee assistance program, in case people are wondering what that is, which will give them access to some counseling or just somebody to talk to if they have stressful moments or stressful triggers, like if they get into debt, if they are going through a divorce or something, they'll be able to call somebody anonymously, confidentially, and be able to just offload and release some of that stress that comes with that. Having things like Medicash, you can look them up. I think I've always recommended and pretty much implemented Medicash in almost every company that I've been at, which is a cheap way of sort of doing a cheaper way of doing medical support. It gives you access to a variation of things, the cashback plan, if you like. And often will come with the EAP attached as an add-on, sometimes free, depending on what package you go with. So that's just a quick and affordable, because most times I think you can get like the level 1 is less than a tenner per person. So it's not going to break the bank, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but it gives something to make people feel good and also encourage wellness overall. There are obviously different apps out there that support, mental health. Everyone sort of knows about the Calm app and all those other things. But the Charity Mind, I believe they also have like some very useful blogs and things like that to really help with mental health. I think that there are various solutions that are available online, to resources that you can look into and explore. An alternative thing you can also do is just to bring somebody in for a small price to come in and just have like a day of just fun interaction that's just stress-free, for even if it's an hour or two, just to sort of break the pattern. But obviously I'm just spitballing here, so it would be great if you were here so we can ask you some more questions, but there are some options out there.
Here, thank you very much for that, Rosie. Alex, last but not least. Oh dear, we've lost Alex again. You might want to, yep, perfect. Go back and then come back again. Personally, I would like to say that treating people like you'd like to be treated is a good way. Another way that I've seen work well in these scenarios, especially, these high stakes, sort of very heavily in sort of inputs projects, is to actually move people around. So let's say you've got a couple of engineers, why not put them once a month or an afternoon or something like that to work with marketing, and vice versa. Give people an array of things to just be able to step away from certain matters. Both, I think, Rosie and Benjamin kind of touched on the flexibility side of things. So that is really important. And what I mean by flexibility, especially in this case, is give people an opportunity to not have a sort of clock in and clock out time. It's as much as you can. I'm assuming you may want people to go on sites with various agriculture clients, so that's not always easy. But personally, I would give them an opportunity to to go and do this whenever it suits them in a way. So that's something that is important. And I know this is going to sound quite cheesy, but I'm a huge fan of paintballing for teams, and I've seen that do miracles quite a few times, because it requires people to rely on each other and also release quite a few challenges that one might be bottling up inside. Alex, sorry I took your time. Go.
No worries at all. I'm sorry.
That's okay, don't worry. What we can do is we can perhaps go to another question if you like, or tell you what, I'll do a quick reset, and then when you're ready to talk, just unmute. It's totally fine. This is Startup Talent Q&A, our 137th session. If you're getting any value from this, please feel free to share it with your network, or perhaps I'm sure you can find a founder that may benefit from this. Just tag them underneath, and you can do that at the top of your screen. There are 3 dots. If you click on those on the right hand side and then click on view event details, it will take you straight onto the comments underneath the event. And again, if you're finding any value in this, we'd really appreciate it if you can spread the words, and perhaps either share it or tag somebody in the comments that you think may benefit from this. That's not only going to help us, but it's also going to add exposure to yourself and your profile, as well as obviously add value to whoever you're going to tag. Are you okay to talk now, Alex?
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry for this coughing.
No, don't worry.
I just wanted to say, I don't have anything to add. I'm so sorry about this. I think Rosie and Benjamin already said some really helpful tips, and I don't think that I can add here so much more.
No, that's totally fine. I guess we've got time for one last question, so we'll go with another, as cheeky as I may sound, let's call him another lazy founder that couldn't be bothered to join us live, but I'll put that question here in our group chat in the messages. So where are we? Okay, I've just put it there. Hopefully you can see it now. Okay, so as the co-founder of a clean energy startup in Newcastle, at pre-Series A stage focused on creating modular solar energy solutions for residential buildings. I'm facing significant hurdles in sourcing engineers with renewable energy expertise. Given our limited recruitment budget, what specific partnerships or community networks could we leverage to reach skilled candidates? Additionally, how can we structure our talent acquisition strategy to focus on candidates who are passionate about clean energy and willing to grow with a high potential startup? I can see based on her LinkedIn profile, she finished university about 3 years ago. Well, not a bachelor's, it's a PhD. So I'm assuming you still have some contacts with your university. Personally, I would focus on that, but I'm not going to go on about it. Let's hear it from our panelists, what their thoughts are. Are you okay to start, Alex, and then we could go to Rosie, then Benjamin?
Sure. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure. So, sourcing, is she already doing a lot of active sourcing, so direct search, etc.? Because this is coming into my mind immediately when I hear this, that they just have limited recruitment budget. How would you interpret this, Anton?
I'm sorry, me and my bleeding big thumbs. From what I can see, again, I can see on her LinkedIn that she's put 2 posts in the last few weeks about looking for people. So I'm assuming she either doesn't have the funds to maybe put a job ads on LinkedIn, or maybe she thought that it's not worth it. So, but it does look that there is some activity in terms of sourcing, because I see 2 posts already in the last few weeks looking for engineers. So I guess, I don't know, I'm only making assumptions here, unfortunately, but I guess there is some active sourcing there.
Yeah, so the first thing what I already mentioned, like, is active sourcing. This is what I'm doing, what I did in the past whenever we had no budget and we had not the money to, I don't know, to put the ads out there. We did a lot of active sourcing, actually. So I would recommend this. And then also, Anton, you just mentioned, like, doing partnerships with universities, etc. also is always helpful, and also it doesn't cost any money also to talk to those people. And and she's already doing this, putting this out there, but also creating kind of a LinkedIn company page. I don't think that this costs money. I'm not 100% sure, but I also would do this. And then also maybe you find sometimes candidates on events, etc. I don't know what she's doing towards this, but I think also in the UK there are a lot of startup events where you can meet people, where you can talk to people, etc. And sometimes it's also, yeah, you also find people there. So these are my first tips.
Thank you very much, Alex. Rosie?
Thanks. Alex mentioned a few great ideas. I mean, she can always reach out and have a chat with me. I love helping out startups like that at the early stage as much as possible. The other thing that I think that she could be doing, you've already mentioned the university. She could run internship programs if she's looking to build the pipeline for the future, to sort of start bringing people that are passionate about this particular sector that she's in, the energy sector. It's not always easy to find great candidates or skilled candidates when you're not an established company, especially if you're like the budget that you may have for the actual roles themselves. I mean, because she's talking about limited recruitment budgets, but the actual budget for the salaries may not be competitive enough to get people through the door. So what else is she offering? This is also another one of those posts that I wish the person had come on the show so we can ask questions and then give them a really good answer that would really help them. Because when she's talking about, you know, how to structure talent acquisition strategy, well, what do you currently have in place? You know, what is wrong with it from your perspective? What is not working? Like, we need to know, to fix the problem, we need to know how you identified it was a problem, you know, or is it
in
just
the detail?
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? It's like there are questions there that we would need to have answers to in order to really help you and give you information that could then really support you properly. So when she talks about specific partnerships or community, I mean, like I said, she's more than happy for her to have a chat and see what we can do for her. But networks, Alexandra's mentioned recruitment fairs. You may need to host a couple of, you know, hackathons, if you like, or energy related hackathons to attract those people, but even that would need to be sponsored. So you may need to reach out to the solar industry and see if you can find a sponsor for your hackathon, and then from the hackathon try and get some people interested in your organization to come and work, who may have the skills that you're looking for. My message, not just to this founder, but to all the founders out there that are actually looking for help, especially relating to people, it would really help if you could spare even 15 minutes to get on the show so we can ask you questions and really answer your questions, because all we can do is give you very broad answers, and trust me, you have no idea how broad they are until you actually start trying to apply them and realize that you have more questions than answers from the answer, because the answer is not tailored to you, because we don't have answers to questions.
Thank you very much, Rosie. Benjamin?
I'll keep it brief because I haven't got a huge amount to add. I think that Rosie and Alex have covered it, and Alex obviously is more in the recruitment space than myself. I think your suggestion of universities is a great one, Anton. But what I was going to say, and this kind of maybe links back to maybe one of the other sessions that you host, is as part of your business plan, as part of your sustainability plan when you set up this business, have you thought about people? Because you obviously have an idea, you have a business plan, you've got something you want to do, but as part of that, have you thought about, actually, what investment do you need to get the right people in and bring them in and pay them? And if you started a business where it's doing what you need it to do because it can't get the right people, you might have a problem. So I think you possibly need to look and go back to basics as well. But in terms of the actual what you need to do, I think Alex and Rosie have covered most of it.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that. And personally, I'd just like to add a few things. You mentioned that you're a co-founder, so I'm assuming there's at least one more founder there. You're in a better position than most startups out there because it means you can sort of dish out certain duties to each other. And one of those things should definitely be to go to certain events. And I think Rosie, especially, but also Alex, touched on that. And of course, Benjamin mentioned, for example, one of the other Q&As that we run. So that can be quite a handful. Number two, I don't know how big your team is because I can't really see much from your LinkedIn profile. But what I would do is definitely on LinkedIn, for example, you've got your company name, but there isn't actually a company page there. Or maybe there is and you just haven't been able to connect it. Get that going. And maybe, however big or small your team is, do a 30 seconds video. Share it out there as to why people that resonate with your mission should have a chat with you. And you know what? Be annoying. Reach out to everybody you're connected to on LinkedIn and just say, would you mind? Do you know anybody that you can tag that might know somebody in this space? Just be annoying. Put it out there. And you know what? I'm not saying it will, but if you are creative, maybe that video might become a bit of a viral thing and other people will see it and so on. So just basically put it out there, but definitely universities and events and also social media should be able to help. You've also got things like Stack Overflow and GitHub that is quite good for engineers, might be worth doing. Anyway, we are now at 1 o'clock, so it's time to wrap up. Let's see if Benjamin and Rosie have got any parting words for us. Rosie? We've lost Rosie. Benjamin, any parting words for us?
Oh, I'm here. Any parting words? Good luck. I think given where we are at this time of year now, probably time to start thinking about a little bit about winding down. I know I have seen this already. Entrepreneurs, business owners sometimes are running around. They're so excited about what they're doing, and they forget that this time of year does tend to be quieter. If people don't reply to you, if things aren't moving as quickly as you'd like, don't be frustrated. Take it as an opportunity to enjoy the downtime and come back in January ready to go.
That is brilliant. Thank you very much, Benjamin. And hopefully we'll see you again in January. If we don't talk until then, I hope you have a brilliant holiday season, and hopefully you get some time to unwind yourself as well.
I'm off to the sunshine on Friday. We'll not
good
be
luck.
back till January. Have a lovely, thank you everybody, and have a good Christmas and New Year.
Good man. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much to everyone that tuned in today, to those of you that tuned in via YouTube or Facebook, to obviously those of you that joined us here on LinkedIn live audio. This has been Startup Talent Q&A 137, and we do Startup Talent Q&As every Monday from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, where we seek to help you with whatever questions you have on finding, hiring, keeping, and empowering the right people for your business. We also run a few other events, so in total it's 4, basically, as you can see. Talent on Mondays, and then Tuesdays it's product and tech, Wednesdays it's growth, and Thursdays it's fundraising. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them. So we've got them all lined up between now and the 19th of December, which is our last Q&A for this year, and you'll be able to RSVP via startuptoscaleup.club onto any of those sessions you like. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for Startup Product and Tech. We've got a brilliant panel team joining us then as well. As for now, just remember, the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else. Otherwise, have a great day. God bless you all. And again, see you tomorrow for Startup Product and Tech Q&A. And we've got a link to today's session in the comments of this group, which is the recording via YouTube. Please feel free to join us there. Bye-bye for now.